Hi guys, I think it's time that we go out to the shop and we talk. We are going to have a little shop talk. Hey guys, welcome to Shop Talk. What Shop Talk is where we kind of take apart the scriptures, see how they were made, who they were talking to, why they were saying it, and see how that applies to us today. I really think that it's the way I operate in my shop. I don't know how to fix something until I know its intended use. I don't know how things work unless I take them apart. So that's what we're doing with Shop Talk. And, you know, Dixie's making me a great looking pour over here. I love sitting down with a cup of coffee and reading the scriptures. I love seeing what the Lord wants to reveal to me, and I think it's just such a blessing. So let's get ready for some Shop Talk. Hey guys, Pastor Rich here. Hey, excited to do another Shop Talk. So today I'm so excited because this is one of my favorite parables, but I want to set it up first. But first, I gotta let you guys know, hey, I just got back from vacation, and look what we got on vacation here. Shop Talk. Take it apart to see how it works. PR Rich Justice. That's the YouTube channel. If you search that, you'll find us. Please subscribe, hit the like button. And if you got any comments or anything, love to connect with you. And I hope you're blessed by this just as I am. Because really, again, this is just about taking a look at the scriptures in a little deeper sense, just to kind of figure out what was happening, when it happened, and who it was happening to. So, this parable that I love. And a parable, again, guys, is a story that Jesus used to prove a point. Some parables, you'll know if it's a real story because he'll actually call out people's names. But when he uses some guy or this or that, he's making a point. And it's a powerful way to make a point. I mean, look at, even in the Old Testament, when Samuel was confronting King David on a sin that he had committed with Bathsheba, he didn't just walk up and go, blah, 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 David, you messed up. He went in and he told him a story and he appealed to David's sense of rightness. So that's a whole nother story for a whole nother episode. If you want to, let me know. But it's so good to you. I just want you to know the reason why Jesus used these stories. Because it pulls in more of our senses. It pulls in, it puts us in a place where we can understand a little deeper about what he's talking about. Because how many of you know the truths in the Bible, they're so deep that they're not easily just grasped to the full intent, but they're easy. You know, they really are. Don't be intimidated by it at all, because he made this. And you're going to see today what it means for God to have humble people. He loves a humble person. So, okay, we're in the Gospel of Luke. Matthew, Mark, Luke. The third book in the New Testament. Now, Luke, a unique guy. Luke was the only disciple, the only one, the only author of a book in the Bible that didn't have Jewish heritage. Thinking, so what? I live in America. We have people of all different kind of heritages. Well, it was a big deal then because Jesus was accepting the Gentiles. And the Jewish people, they were the chosen people of God. And I could understand how they would make their that chosen people of God thing such a unique, and I am and you're not, and just look throughout the Bible and you'll see that. But God wants everybody to be his chosen people, and he grafts us into that. So, okay, Luke, he's a super sharp guy, probably had some influence. They call him the great physician, all these things. But Luke, his book, he was written to a guy named Theophilus. Now, we don't know exactly who Theophilus is, or at least I haven't come across it yet. I'm sure there's some theologian and there may be some Jewish history that will tie things together. But for right now, Theophilus, he could be a person in power under the Roman government, okay? He's somebody with power. because Luke calls him the great Theophilus. So you got Luke, he's writing a letter to a guy that's in power, and in fact, I don't know where this happens, the meanings of names, who comes up with it, if it happens first, or if there's a person that describes a person, so now this name means that, but Theophilus means one who follows God. So I don't know if Luke was writing to his friend Theophilus, and Theophilus was known as being one who follows God. So Luke's a great book. It goes through the gospel. It goes through the life of Jesus. So check it out. You will love it. And you will have a perspective, because in their day, they would understand the difference between how Luke was writing and who he was writing to, and how even Matthew and Mark, the Jewish guys of that time, Peter, because they were very much into the history and the ancestry, but to a Gentile, it's like, hey, I'm just getting grafted into this. They're not as deep into it with the family pride. They're deep into it for the history and the proving of who God is. Anyway, I hope you guys are grasping this, that Luke is not Jewish, but is accepting Christ. And that should be a sign to all of us, no matter how far away you are. If somebody tells you you're not good enough, don't listen to them. You can accept Christ. Okay, Luke, he's quoting Jesus here. I don't know if any of you have a Bible that has red letters in it, but it's awesome, because when you see the red letters, you know that it is Jesus' words that they're recording. And the more red letters, the cooler it is, right? Okay. In chapter 14 of Luke, he's telling a story about how there was this ruler of the Pharisees invited Jesus over. Well, hey, they're trying to trick Jesus, which is hard for us to understand, because they invited a guy in that had they had a guy that his hand was all who had dropsy. Okay. So Jesus, he looked at him, he knew what they were doing, so he's like, hey guys, is it lawful to heal on the Sabbath? And they would have said, nope, that's work, you can't heal on the Sabbath. I'm like, in my mind, God's the one that does the healing, Jesus does the healing. I'm not working, I'm just asking. Okay, anyway, Jesus heals this guy, and he makes a point like, hey, if any of you having a son or an ox has fallen into a well on the Sabbath, would you not immediately pull him out? You don't want your son to drown. You're not going to say, hey buddy, you just stay there till tomorrow, I can't do anything about it. Or, hey ox, I need you to put my crops in, get my crops out, I need you to work. You just stay there till tomorrow, and if you're still there tomorrow, I'll pull you out. No, that's crazy talk, isn't it? Because the love of somebody, the love of something like that is in need, outweighs a law that they had in their time. They were trying to be so pious and everything. Okay, you got this. These people were setting themselves up to prove Jesus was wrong, because they wanted to stay in power. They didn't want God to be available to the masses. They knew better what people needed, and allow me to rule your life, basically, is what they were doing. They had a pretty good gig going. They had people giving them money, and they were spending the money, and they were digging it, and they were feeling all educated, and I'm so much better than you. They had pride going on. Okay, guys? Okay. Now, the parable that I love the most, it starts in verse 7, and it's a parable of the wedding feast. I'm going to read it, all right? Now he told a parable to those who were invited. So we know he's at the same place. He just confronted them about this guy. He healed him, and he confronted them with, are you going to let your little man-made laws hold back the kingdom of God? Okay. When he noticed how they chose the places of honor, saying to them at a wedding feast, okay? When you are invited by someone to a wedding feast, do you not sit down in a place of honor, lest someone more distinguished than you be invited by him?
That's the first time you might be getting a little pride in you if you walk into a room and you think you're the coolest thing in the universe there, because there's always somebody better, and there's always Jesus who is better than anybody that thinks they're the best. Right on? Okay. Verse 9. And he who invited you both will come and say to you, give your place to this person, and then you will begin with shame to take the lowest place. So don't assume you're all that in a bag of chips and then realize, ooh, somebody brought French fries. You don't want to have to humbly be humbled in front of people, right? That is the worst. Okay? But when you are invited, go and sit in the lowest place. He's giving us advice here, so that when your host comes, he may say to you, friend, move up higher. Then you will be honored in the presence of all who sit at table with you. For everyone who exalts himself will be humbled, and he who humbles himself will be exalted. Now, I've always loved that parable ever since I was a little kid, because that feeling of I've always been for the underdog, right? The team that didn't have a chance coming in, and they build up their heart, and they pull it off, the miracle on ice, all those. I love those things. I love it when somebody that doesn't look like they show up with the pomp and circumstance, and they come in, and I don't know what it is about that. Maybe it's the heart of God. But what Jesus is telling us here is to not get too full of ourselves. And before you think, Rich, I don't have a problem with that. I'm just such a laid back person. I don't care. The most proud people don't realize how proud they are. Now, when you walk into a place, have you ever been around something and you're starting to talk to somebody and somebody else comes over, and this is like their party, they're the bride and groom at the wedding, let's say, and somebody else comes up and they're just, they step in front of you and they start talking to them, and they take all the attention, and the bride and the groom are nice to them, and then they leave, and then you get to have like a real conversation, and you realize the conversation that other person had was just to prove that everybody around them, that the bride and groom knew them. I don't know if you guys watch PBS at all, but Keeping Appearances or Making Up Appearances, it was a show. It was Mrs. Bouquet. That's the premise of the whole show, was this lady trying to make things sound so awesome. Her last name was actually Bucket, but she pronounced it Bouquet. And it's funny. She has a good time with it. But that's what's happening here. Because when we start to set ourselves up, we have to be careful that we don't try to lower God. Did you catch that? We don't want to bring God down to where we are. We want to be humbled in His presence. Every time we get invited to a wedding, or even if somebody asks me to perform their wedding, I'm generally humbled. Because when you step back and look at it, what a major life event that is. What a huge decision they made. They are aligning themselves with somebody for the rest of their lives. Not just while it's convenient. So, when you go to a wedding, hang out at the lower end of the table, and I'll tell you what, some of the funnest people are at that end of the table with all the pomp and circumstance happening over here with the big guys, and everybody's trying to impress each other, and they're, who knows what kind of networking and stuff they're trying to do. It is fun to just sit back sometimes. And you know what else is fun? Hang out with the kids. Kids at a wedding are a blast. If they're allowed to just be themselves, it's a whole different scenario for them to be in, and they are just having a blast. And I love watching parents that have fun with their kids at weddings or at big things like that. And I think that's how the Lord is. He loves watching His kids have fun. And, we can proclaim ourselves, I'm the best at this, I'm whatever. I know everything about the Bible. You should only watch Shop Talk, right? Well, we have a sign. Forget that. let's just go on this journey together. So, and that's taking it apart to me was figuring out who Luke is. It means a lot to me knowing that he's a Gentile. And he's capturing Jesus' words, yes, but he's actually capturing the words that Jesus said that mattered to him a lot. So I know that this meant a lot to him. So we know that this happened, this parable was told right after Jesus healed this guy, because in verse 12, he has another parable, and he starts it out with, he said to the man who had invited him. So he's still talking to the same group of people. These little facts really help us tie in the overall thought of what Jesus was saying. You know, another point that is awesome is, this is not the first time this is brought up, the humility, the not putting your place at a high stature, but letting the Lord bring you up. You know, it's like a politician that works for the people and the people vote him in. You know, the way it's supposed to work and all that. And that they actually do what they said they're going to do and all that. I don't get into politics here, but it really is, it's a pride thing. Whenever you see that pride welling up. Have you ever, and like this, YouTube or podcast, I have this kind of filter. Sometimes when a guy starts, I listen to this podcast, don't try to figure out who it is. I don't even know if they're still on. It doesn't really matter. The point I'm trying to make is, I would fast forward to the first 5 minutes, because they would tell me how great they are, who they hung out with, how they've helped these great people, and great people think they're awesome, and all of this. But it was everyone. So I knew to just fast forward through, actually it was the first 3 minutes. And then there was some good information in there. Don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. There's good information. But man, when you come up to a humble person that's doing life with you, and you kind of come alongside, and you're doing shoulder to shoulder time, you make each other better. And that's what Jesus is talking about here, how to humble yourself, to not walk into a situation thinking that you're all it and then have to be humbled, but to actually be brought up. You're more useful. That person that got told, you sat in the wrong spot, Billy, Joe, Jim, Bob, Joe, Wackhand, whatever name you want to put in there, you got to go back to the back. You go hang out with the kids. You know, we don't want you influencing these people. You know, but to get called up and say, man, Rich, we enjoy you so much. Come on up, sit up here. This is a big day. We want you to be around for it, because you're always thinking about other people. That's Christ-like, right? Okay, so the point I was going to make, though, is that this isn't the first time this has come up. If you go back to the book of Proverbs, let me find it here. I'm in Proverbs chapter 25, verse 6 and 7. It says, do not put yourself forward in the king's presence, or stand in the place of great. For it is better to be told, come up here, than to be put lower in the presence of a noble. What Jesus was doing was telling a parable that King Solomon had put down hundreds of years before. This tells me that this really is the heart of God. It's not just the first place it's come up. And if you search humble in the Bible, you will be amazed. In fact, you go on in Proverbs chapter 29, I'm going to read verse 23. One's pride will bring him low, but he who is lowly in spirit will obtain honor. I don't know about you, but I want honor. But what Jesus was doing with this parable was helping them to understand what those proverbs said. And there's more to it than that. We can read in so many different places. Matthew 18, James 4, 1 Peter 5, verse 5 and 6. Challenge you, go read that this week. 1 Peter 5, verse 5 and 6. It's right after the book of James in the New Testament. Guys, I hope you enjoyed this as much as I did. This parable always makes me feel better. I used to look at it like, hey, the guy that The underdog was winning. The underdog came in. I totally separated myself. But I think it's important that we read these scriptures and go, okay, where do I fit? Am I the guy that shows up and sits at the front? Am I the one that takes the time with the bride and groom, or with the debutante of the hour, or you get invited to, like the governor's mansion has a prayer thing every once in a while. People all over can go to things like this. But if I walk up there and I act like we're best friends and he's never seen me before, just to make myself look good in front of other people, he's just gonna go, So when you're dealing with the Lord and you're walking with the Lord, allow Him to raise you to that place of prominence. Allow Him to put you where He wants you. Remember, God has plans for you, and they're plans for good, not evil. So allow Him to put you in the places He needs you. And maybe not every wedding you're supposed to be the center of attention or pulled into the front. Go have a good time, celebrate with them at wherever you are. We call that staying in your lane. I'm not going to tell or think somebody else should do something different, but I'm going to be in my lane, and I'm going to make my judgments on what ministers most, or actually aligns with the spirit of my life most. So, guys, hope you enjoyed it. I love this. I do. Because it makes me look at this a little deeper and go, oh, this is Luke. He's a Gentile. He's not writing to Jewish people. He's writing to people like me. So I know that this is not just a Jewish custom thing at their weddings. This reflects how I should act. I should be humble, always being a servant-hearted person, and loving people by putting them first over myself in the right way. Right? So guys, I hope you grasped something out of this, because I sure did. Hope you like the new sign. I just think it's awesome. It's just fun. So go through your life, have some fun. I love you guys. I love the God you serve. And let's go out through this week and see what it looks like when we walk into situations. If we humble ourselves, the Lord will bring us up. He's true to His word. It never fails. Bye now.